Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So this week's video is going to be about finding art inspiration, and specifically for me, I'm looking for inspiration for Afro-Fantasy character design. And I know that's real specific, but this is the direction I kind of want my art to go, at least within the next couple of years, especially as I dive deeper and deeper into escapism, which I'm pretty sure most of us have done within the last year during COVID, you know? So for me, my main form of escapism is into like Black entertainment. And if I really had to pick a genre, it would be Afro-Fantasy. So Lovecraft Country, loved it. Afro-Fantasy novels like Tomi Adeyemi's Children of Blood and Bone, love that too. But yeah, overall, I just really enjoy Afro-Futurism, Afro-sci-fi fantasy art, any type of magical fantasy sci-fi content that is Afro-centric. And for me, it's really important that it's Afro-centric because so much of our fantasy content, from like video games to movies to books to TV shows, most of that, even in education, most of that is Eurocentric. One of the first forms of fiction that we learn in school is Greek mythology, and I ain't Greek. Like, I did my DNA test. I'm not Greek. So I'm really like trying to discover and learn what are our mythical stories. And by ours, I mean across the African diaspora. So from the root, from Africa, all throughout the diaspora, and whatever myths or stories that we came up with ourselves. And that's not to say that, oh, we shouldn't consume Roman mythology, Greek mythology, Celtic, Norse, etc., and all of the entertainment that comes from that. Those are really good. Like, I enjoy watching Game of Thrones. I enjoy Greek mythology. I enjoy watching American Gods. And I mean, thankfully, they did have some Black representation, which I definitely appreciated, but I liked all of it. So we should have our stories be told too, because to me, it's really upsetting that when we are introduced to fantasy, especially as a child, we don't even know African mythologies. Like, how many people knew about the Orishas up until recently? Like, how many mythical creatures from Africa can you actually name? Yet we know about like the Loch Ness monster and these other mythical creatures that are based in European myths. Like, even knocking on wood originated, I think it was either from Celtic or Norse mythology, where you would knock on the wood to call the tree spirit or whatever. So there's just so much that we know about cultures that we did not even directly evolve from. But because we live in this country, I'm in the US, but because we live in this country, everything is through a white lens, and that's just not, like, I'm kind of tired of it. And I have kind of always been this way, even from just as a kid. Like, I never even cared for like Harry Potter because I want to see Black magical people. That's just what I wanted to see. So they say you're supposed to be the change you wish to see in the world. So I'm going to try and use my art for good and be that change. I've recently purchased quite a few fantasy novels, and I want to draw inspiration from those books. I want to draw inspiration from what's already being done by other Black artists, and use that to inform my art moving forward. There's a couple of artists I want to highlight, but I also want to talk about my process for finding inspiration. And I'm probably going to rant some more as I start to talk about things. So bear with me, grab some tea or whatever, and we're just going to chit chat. And of course, as I talk, I also want to know what you guys' thoughts are in the comment section. So anything I say you want to respond to, let's have a dialogue. So first, let's start with my art, and then I can show you guys some up-and-coming projects that are like actually pretty big, like that I'm really excited for, that other Black artists are working on. And then I can go through like overall what my process is going to be for improving my artwork. But here we are on my Instagram page, The Mind of Lori. This is my art page, and I really wasn't too active last year. I kind of started to be really into arts. That's kind of like what my YouTube channel kind of started with. But honestly, life got hectic. It was 2020. I don't think I really need to explain. But I was able to get some creativity out there. So these, let's see, where did we start? So from here, from this bottom row here upwards is all the content that I created last year. So not a lot. And I did some sketching that I didn't post here, but these are artworks that I felt worthy enough to share. And, you know, this really isn't character design. This honestly probably isn't even the basis of character design. Character design, I think, is its own animal. You know, there's a story in the pose of the character. For example, I'll go to my Pinterest board. Like, you know, there's a story in the garments that you want to put on your character, the tools or accessories that you want to show your character using. There's a whole story being told. Whereas what I'm used to doing is taking a reference and copying it to some degree or another, which, I mean, is fine if that's what, you know, I was going for. If I was going for portrait work, you know, that's definitely an art job. But like I said earlier, I really want to kind of segue into a more fantasy realm of art. Yeah, I just wanted to show you guys where I am right now, and then we can see as the year progresses, you know, how much has my art changed at the end of the year. I tried to, and I kind of tried. I attempted to do a little bit of character design, but there are so many flaws that I see within this. So one of the books, and I think I said it already, but I'm not sure, but one of the Afro-Fantasy novels that I read was Tomi Adeyemi's Children of Blood and Bone, which is a young adult novel that is set in this, I think it's Nigerian inspired, because the whole folklore of that trilogy series is Yoruba tradition, and Yoruba, like, I wouldn't even say the tradition of the beliefs, but the Orishas themselves. And so the main character, Zaylee, is like a 16-year-old girl who, you know, she's part of this caste system, and she discovers that she can use her powers because the powers were taken away because they were abusing them, etc., etc. So now she's at this generation where powers are back, and she's trying to restore justice or some form of another. And I really wanted to draw her. She's a beautiful, dark-skinned 16-year-old girl. Her hair is silver, and it is curly when she starts using her magic and straight when she's not. I wanted to draw her, so I'm like, okay, well, let me make this my first attempt at character design. But what I don't like about this, like, even though I changed the clothes and I was using like the description in the books and everything, there's still like a lack of movement that you can, like, when you are character designing, you can kind of take authority to stray away from realism in order to exaggerate certain movement or certain emotions. Whereas what you see here is I am directly copying the stance. So already I just wasn't happy with this, so I kind of stopped. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys where I'm starting with. And now let's look at where I'm trying to get to. So I started to create a Pinterest board for Black characters, where I can basically just look for anything that remotely looked like it was a Black Afro-Fantasy character and just have it here to draw inspiration from. So some of these may not actually be Afro-centric, but that's fine. It's just to draw inspiration. And some of my favorite pieces are, well, this one. This is so beautiful to me. Like, I like the style of this character. She has realistic proportions, and again, like, you can see with the whole, you know, like, this is her weapon, this is how she's dressed, paying attention to the gold detailing. Like, I like the whole mood and overall style, and this is probably more so the direction that I want to take my style in. Deoxy Diamond is a Brazilian artist who I follow very closely, and I really like their work. And they tend to have like that same like sci-fi, high-tech type of vibe to all of their characters. I can actually go to their Instagram page. I really appreciate their artwork. I like their line work, for example. Like, line work is not something that I am particularly fond of. Oh wait, this is supposed to be Aaron Yeager. Which this brings up another point, and this is no bash to this artist because I absolutely love this artist. But the other reason why I'm so itching to consume cartoons and animations and art content from Black creators that are centered around the different black cultures, like across the diaspora, etc., is because I find that a lot of us tend to draw black versions of our favorite characters, and I truly believe that is because there are no black characters for us to automatically fawn over. I also feel like if there were enough representations of actual black characters, then maybe we wouldn't feel so compelled to have to draw these non-black characters as black. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Again, not to bash this artist at all, because they are an amazing artist. Like, probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite artist. And so yeah, I'll put the link to my Pinterest board in the description so you guys can actually scroll through. If black characters and black art is something that you take joy in, you can go to my Pinterest board and add it to your Pinterest if you want. One of the projects I want to talk about is the Wagadu Chronicles, which do I have that up? No, I don't. The Wagadu Chronicles is an Afro-Fantasy world RPG game, where you can basically download this game and jump into this African world playing a specific role. Now, I don't know too much about the different roles and the different ways in which you can play the actual game. And I discovered this through, different type of Instagram searches like black characters, Afro-Fantasy, afro-futurism. But one of the artists is Iga. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say her name, but her artwork is pretty spot on to the type of work that I also want to create. Like the level of realism and depth that goes into her artwork, even when she is designing mythical characters, I mean, it's just amazing. Like this, I don't know what type of, okay, this is called an emir. I don't really know what an emir is, but you can see it's a mythical creature. But if you look at the proportions, like these are pretty on par with human features and human proportions and ratios. And even the level of detailing and the skin and the colors of the skin, like this is pretty on par with the type of character design and how rendered, I should say, how rendered the characters would be if I were to create them. And oh my god, her portrait skills are just amazing. But yeah, so one of my favorite artists is a white artist who creates content, and a lot of which is for the Wagadu Chronicles, which is again an Afro-Fantasy world. And I think I just read it, she's the art director for this project. And this is a project that I followed for a long time, and they have done their work to study several different African cultures. They've researched African mythology, and so they're trying to build this world that tells stories that have not been told yet. Because again, we know about Greek mythology or Roman mythology, Norse, Celtic, etc., but African mythology, which Africa is a whole continent. I just named several different European cultures. But how many of us can actually name different types of mythologies from the entire continent of Africa? The content just isn't out there yet. So I think it's awesome that, they have a diverse team working on this project. And I think that it's pretty cool. And I'm probably going to play the game too. There's two more that I want to highlight. And one is actually a collaboration that this Pan-African animation company is doing with Disney. There are these three friends from Nigeria and Uganda that created Kugali Media, and they have partnered with Disney Plus to have an actual animation series called Iwaju. Kugali Media, this is the actual company, and I just think it's so dope that we have a black media company that has partnered with a huge name like Disney, and they're actually going to have a series in 2022 that is afro-centric. It is about magical black people, and it's a cartoon show. I love it. This is probably one of the most exciting projects that I've seen so far. I'll link to this below. And then lastly, the other company that I wanted to highlight too that I've been following for a while is Black Sense Entertainment. And so this is another independent black owned, but this is a comic publisher, and I followed them on Instagram for a while too. but they do have a bunch of comics that you can purchase and also gain inspiration from. So this is just exciting. Like, I just named three different entertainment companies, and they're all doing very big things, which is really inspiring to me, because it's like, okay, we're out here, you know. But altogether, these are the different types of content that I've been consuming to try to inform my own artistry. It's so exciting to me to know that there are these blackety black companies, and even companies that aren't strictly black, like the Wakadu Chronicles. The fact that they have such a diverse team and they are dedicated to doing their research and digging for these lesser known mythologies and trying to bring them to the public, I think is super awesome. Let me know what you think about having to grow up, especially if you have a different experience. Obviously, my experience, as you can tell from all the ranting, is that, you know, the very first things that I was introduced to up until adulthood were Eurocentric. So if you had an alternate experience, please share it below, and, you know, let's have some conversation about, you know, what does it mean for you to have your representation in movies, in cartoons, in video games? Like, what does that mean for you? You can also expect me to post a lot more about Afro-Futurism and Afro-Fantasy, since I will be dedicating a lot of my time to researching these mythologies. Thank you guys for tuning in. And yeah, let's continue this conversation below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.